In this fast-paced world, filled with distractions and obligations, many people find it increasingly challenging to pause, reflect, and truly listen. Yet amidst the noise, there exists a profound and gentle whisper that beckons us towards deeper understanding, purpose, and connection to the voice of God. The first step in this journey is the awareness of the divine voice. Developing this awareness is not merely an act of passive listening, but an active and intentional engagement with the spiritual elements in our lives. To begin, it is essential to recognize that the divine voice speaks in many forms. It may come as a quiet thought, a feeling of peace, a passage of scripture that stands out, or a moment of inspiration that seemingly emerges from nowhere. Yet, if we are caught in the tumultuous currents of our daily lives, chasing deadlines, managing responsibilities, or indulging in endless entertainment, we risk missing these pivotal moments. Just like tuning into a radio station, we must adjust our mental and emotional frequencies to capture the subtle signals of divine guidance. This requires an intentional setting aside of time to cultivate stillness and presence. Practices such as prayer, meditation, and mindfulness become essential tools in developing this awareness. Prayer invites us into a dialogue, a direct conversation with the divine, where we can express our hopes, fears, and gratitude. It creates a space for us to both speak and listen. Meditation serves as a practice of quieting the mind, releasing the clutter and chaos to make room for deeper insights. In this stillness, we can become acutely aware of the divine presence that surrounds us. Mindfulness, on the other hand, involves being fully present in the moment, engaging with our environment and experiences with a heightened sense of awareness. Through these practices, we train our hearts and minds to recognize the subtle nudges of divine inspiration. Consider the story of Elijah, a biblical figure who experienced God not in the grandiose events of nature like storms or earthquakes, but in a still small voice. This story serves as an allegory for our own lives. We often look for grand signs or miraculous interventions, and in doing so, we may overlook the gentle whispers that guide us daily. This insight reminds us that God's voice operates in a space of humility and tranquility, echoing the importance of quiet reflection. Part of this journey toward awareness involves self-examination. Just as a radio may pick up static if it's poorly tuned, our hearts can become cluttered with doubts, fears, and distractions that hinder our ability to hear God's voice. We must engage in introspective practices that invite us to confront what may be blocking our spiritual receptors. This could be a cycle of negative thoughts, past trauma, or the incessant busyness that leaves little room for sacred contemplation. Identifying and addressing these barriers can open channels of communication with the divine. Furthermore, being aware of divine communication necessitates an openness to guidance that may not align with our preconceived notions. God might prompt us toward paths we never expected or channel insights that challenge our comfort zones. This calls for immense courage and trust. Extraordinary transformation often comes from surrendering to a path that seems uncertain, from pursuing a new career, reaching out to mend a broken relationship, or simply changing our daily habits to reflect greater mindfulness. As we develop this awareness of the divine voice, we also need to understand that it requires patience and practice. Much like learning a musical instrument, it takes time to harmonize with what we perceive to be God's voice. There may be times of doubt, moments when clarity seems elusive, and that is perfectly natural. Being patient and persistent in our efforts fosters resilience, allowing us to continue seeking and cultivating a deeper awareness even when the path appears unclear. Engaging in community can further enhance our awareness of God's voice. Surrounding ourselves with others who share similar beliefs and values creates an environment where spiritual discussions thrive. Collective prayer, fellowship, and shared testimonies enrich our understanding and often illuminate paths we hadn't considered. Other people's experiences can serve as mirrors, reflecting the divine whispers we might be struggling to hear ourselves. This sense of belonging and shared pursuit of the divine can be instrumental in reinforcing our personal journeys. It is equally important to remember that listening to God is not merely about receiving, it's also about responding. An awareness of the divine voice invites us into a relationship characterized by dialogue and action. When we receive guidance, we are called to act upon it, leading us to purposeful living. Each internal prompt or peace we feel can lead to significant external changes, perhaps initiating a new project, volunteering for a cause that moves us, or simply showing kindness to someone in need. This willingness to act requires a commitment to remain attuned to that voice, continually seeking its direction in our lives. In addition to creating a personal practice of listening, nature offers a magnificent backdrop for awareness. Many find that spending time in nature can quiet the mind and open the heart. The beauty and intricacies of the world around USA, gentle breeze, the rustling of leaves, or the rush of the ocean serve as reminders of a greater purpose in the presence of the Creator. These moments of reflection in natural settings can inspire profound revelations and enhance our ability to discern the voice of God in our everyday lives. As we strive to cultivate an awareness of God's voice, it's essential to remain compassionate with ourselves. Some days will be easier than others, and there may be moments when we feel disconnected. Such feelings are part of the human experience. Navigating this journey will not always be linear. Acknowledging these ups and downs without judgment allows us to remain in grace and persist on the path. To truly listen for God's voice is to embark on a journey that enriches our lives with authenticity, purpose, and insight. The more we practice being aware of this divine presence, the more familiar it becomes, guiding us through life's complexities. In a world where external distractions abound, taking the time to nurture this inner relationship fosters not just spiritual growth, but a profound sense of peace and fulfillment. Thus, as we ponder the question, is God speaking to your heart? Let us be reminded that it is our role to cultivate the awareness needed to listen fully. Embrace stillness, engage in community, practice patience, and remain open to the love and guidance that is perpetually available to us. When we cultivate this awareness, we not only enrich our lives, but also allow the divine voice to manifest fully in our actions, leading us closer to our true selves and the greater purpose we are meant to fulfill. Faith over fear, conquering doubt and unlocking purpose. As we navigate the complexities of life, it's normal to experience moments of uncertainty and fear. The unknown can be daunting, and it's easy to let our doubts and fears hold us back from pursuing our dreams and aspirations. However, it's essential to remember that faith is the foundation upon which we build our lives. When we trust in God's plan and purpose, we unlock a sense of courage and confidence that enables us to overcome even the greatest challenges. Fear is a natural response to uncertainty, but it's also a hindrance to growth and progress. When we let fear dictate our decisions, we are likely to play it safe and stay within our comfort zones. While this may provide temporary peace of mind, it also means that we're not living up to our full potential. On the other hand, faith is a force that propels us forward even when the path ahead is unclear. It gives us the strength to take risks, face our fears, and push beyond the boundaries of what's possible. The Bible teaches us that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, Hebrews 11:1. This means that our faith is not based on facts or tangible evidence, but on a deep trust in a higher power. When we operate in faith, we're not operating by sight, but by the leading of the Spirit. This requires a willingness to listen to God's voice and follow His guidance, even when it doesn't make sense to us. In the book of Genesis, we find the story of Abraham, who was called by God to leave his home and family to journey to a land that God would show him, Genesis 12:1-4. Abraham didn't have a clear understanding of what lay ahead, but he trusted in God's promise and took the first step. As a result, he became the father of a nation, and his faith became a beacon of hope to generations to come. We can learn from Abraham's example by cultivating a similar level of trust in God's plan. This requires a willingness to let go of fear and doubt and to trust in the sovereignty of a loving God. When we do this, we're able to move forward with confidence, knowing that God has everything under control. But how do we develop this kind of faith? One way is to spend time in prayer and meditation, seeking to understand God's perspective on our lives. This involves listening to His voice, reading His Word, and trusting in His goodness. As we do this, we begin to see the world through a different lens, and our fear and doubt begin to fade away. Another way to cultivate faith is to surround ourselves with people who inspire and encourage us. When we're around others who believe in us and our potential, it can be a powerful motivator to push beyond our limit. We begin to see that our faith is not just about us, but about the impact we can have on others. Ultimately, faith is not about being fearless, but about being brave in the face of fear. It's about trusting in a power that's greater than ourselves and allowing that power to guide us on our journey. When we operate in faith, we're not just seeking to achieve our own goals and aspirations, but we're also seeking to honor and glorify God. As we strive to cultivate faith over fear, let's remember the words of the Apostle Paul, who wrote, "For God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and self-discipline," 2 Timothy 1-7. When we trust in God's plan, we're not operating in fear, but in power. We're not operating in doubt, but in love. And we're not operating in weakness, but in self-discipline. So let's choose to walk by faith rather than by sight. Let's trust in the leading of the Spirit, even when it doesn't make sense to us. And let's remember that our faith is not just about us, but about the impact we can have on others. When we do this, we'll find that our lives are transformed and we'll become the people we were created to be. As we continue on our journey, let's hold on to the promise of 2 Corinthians 5-7, which says, "For we live by faith, not by sight." May we always remember that our faith is the substance of our hopes and dreams, and that it's the evidence of things not seen. May we always trust in God's plan, even when we don't understand it. And may we always remember that our faith is not just about us, but about the impact we can have on others. In closing, let's take a moment to reflect on our own lives. Are there areas where we're operating in fear rather than faith? Are there dreams and aspirations that we've been hesitant to pursue because of our doubts and fears? Let's take a step today to shift our perspective and trust in God's plan. Let's choose to walk by faith rather than by sight. And let's remember that our faith is the substance of our hopes and dreams, and that it's the evidence of things not seen. As we go forward, may the wisdom of the Apostle Paul guide us. As he wrote, "I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that what has happened to me has actually served to advance the gospel. As a result, it has become clear throughout the whole palace guard and to everyone else that I'm in chains for Christ. And because of my chains, most of the brothers and sisters have become confident in the Lord and dare all the more to proclaim the gospel without fear." Philippians 1:12-14. We may not have a palace guard in our lives, but we do have a God who is greater than any challenge we may face. We do have a faith that's strong enough to conquer any doubt or fear, and we do have a purpose that's greater than ourselves. Let's hold on to these truths and trust in the goodness of our loving God. Understanding that each person has a unique purpose and calling is a fundamental aspect of fulfilling one's potential and living a meaningful life. This realization is deeply rooted in the belief that everyone is created for a reason, and that reason is not merely to exist, but to achieve something significant. When Dr. Charles emphasizes the importance of seeking clarity on one's life mission through introspection and divine communication, he is pointing towards a journey of self-discovery and spiritual alignment. This journey begins with acknowledging that one's purpose is not solely defined by earthly achievements or material success, but by a higher calling that transcends the mundane. It involves listening to that inner voice, often referred to as the voice of God or one's conscience, which guides and directs towards specific goals and aspirations. The challenge many face is tuning into this voice amidst the noise of daily life, societal expectations, and personal doubts. Seeking clarity on one's purpose requires a combination of introspection, prayer, and sometimes solitude. It's about creating space to listen, to reflect on one's passions, values, and the issues that stir a deep sense of concern or compassion. For many, this process involves exploring their natural talents and abilities, considering how these can be used to make a positive impact in the world. It might also involve facing fears and stepping out of comfort zones, as growth often lies just beyond the boundaries of what feels safe and familiar. The concept of a unique purpose for each individual is rooted in various spiritual and philosophical traditions. In Christianity, for example, it is believed that every person is uniquely gifted and called by God to fulfill specific roles and functions within the body of believers and in the world at large. Similarly, in other faiths and belief systems, there is an emphasis on discovering and living out one's dharma, or righteous way of living, which aligns with the greater good of all. Living a life of purpose is not just about personal fulfillment, although that is a significant byproduct. It's also about contributing to the world in meaningful ways, leaving it a better place than when one entered it. When individuals are aligned with their purpose, they are more likely to experience a sense of direction, motivation, and satisfaction. They are also more resilient in the face of challenges, knowing that their efforts are part of something larger than themselves. Dr. Charles's message, therefore, is not just a call to personal achievement, but a call to service, to use one's gifts and talents to make a difference in the lives of others. It's a reminder that every life has the potential to be a testament to the transformative power of faith and purpose. By encouraging listeners to seek their unique calling, he is empowering them to embark on a journey that can lead to profound personal growth, deeper spiritual connection, and a legacy that outlasts them. Moreover, the search for one's purpose is a lifelong journey, not a one-time discovery. It involves continuous learning, growing, and evolving as one's understanding of themselves and their place in the world deepens. It requires patience, persistence, and sometimes the courage to pivot or adjust one's path when it becomes clear that a change is needed. The benefits of living a life of purpose are manifold. It can lead to greater happiness and contentment as one feels they are doing what they were meant to do. It fosters a sense of community and connection as like-minded individuals come together to support and encourage each other in their pursuits. It also leads to a more resilient and hopeful outlook on life, as challenges are viewed as opportunities for growth rather than obstacles to success. In essence, Dr. Charles's emphasis on seeking clarity on one's life mission is an invitation to live a life that is authentic, meaningful, and impactful. It is a call to explore the deepest desires of one's heart, to listen to the still, small voice that guides and directs, and to trust in a higher purpose that gives life its significance and direction. By accepting this invitation, individuals can embark on a path that leads to personal fulfillment, spiritual growth, and a lasting legacy that inspires and uplifts others. In the journey of life, the importance of action and obedience cannot be overstated, especially when it comes to responding to the whispers of a higher power. Many of us find ourselves at crossroads, faced with decisions that can change the course of our lives. It is during these pivotal moments that we must tune into the divine voice that speaks to our hearts. This divine guidance is often accompanied by a call to take action, to step forward in faith, and to embrace the opportunities that lie ahead. First, we must understand that the divine voice comes to us in many forms. It might be a thought that crosses our mind, an overwhelming sense of peace in the midst of chaos, or even the wise words of a friend or mentor that resonate deeply within us. Recognizing these moments is crucial, as they serve as invitations to embark on a journey that aligns with our higher purpose. Yet the mere recognition of this calling is not enough. The transformative power of divine guidance lies in our willingness to act upon it. Taking action is an essential part of our spiritual growth. When we receive a nudge from God, it's often a catalyst for change or a push toward a new direction. However, making that leap can be daunting. Doubts and fears can easily creep in, causing us to hesitate. We may question our abilities, worry about the consequences, or even second-guess the validity of our divine calling. Yet, it is essential to remember that the path laid out before us is not meant to be walked alone. If God has placed a desire in your heart, He will equip you with the tools and courage necessary to pursue it. Obedience is the bridge that connects our recognition of God's voice and our willingness to embrace action. It involves trusting in God's plan for our lives, even when the path ahead is unclear or seemingly challenging. Obeying that divine call requires faith, a belief that our steps are being guided, even if we cannot see the entire journey laid out before us. Just as a child trusts their parent to guide them, we too must trust in the wisdom and love of our Creator. History is replete with stories of individuals who exemplify this principle beautifully. Consider the story of Abraham, who is called to leave his homeland and venture into the unknown. Abraham's obedience to God's command, despite the uncertainty he faced, ultimately led to blessings beyond measure. He became the father of nations, all because he chose to take that first step in faith. His journey exemplifies that when we act on God's guidance, we not only fulfill our own potential, but can also be the catalyst for the transformation of many lives around us. Another inspiring figure is Martin Luther King Jr., who felt a divine calling to advocate for civil rights in America.